Wait, does the person have to be dead to be an ode?
No, it's like a,
Like a story?
well, it's like a song of praise,
Oh,
a poem of praise. A ballad maybe?
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Does the person have to be dead for a while?
No,
Okay.
ballad is a story, yeah.
Take from Southern Nepal was the movie, the ode of something.
Billy
Joe?
Joe.
That's a ballad.
My sister took me to see that movie when I was very,
Oh my
very
gosh.
young, and I was just like, oh, I just love that movie. I wonder if I would love it as much now as I did when I was like 8.
I never saw the movie because the song was enough, and you know, what somebody like
The song told the whole story.
told the whole
Right.
story.
Yeah.
And it was I thought it was a whole different story in the movie than
Well,
the song doesn't
takes-
imply
the
any
song
of
takes
that.
3 minutes. And a movie's gonna take at least 20 times that. Well,
Good evening, everyone.
Well, probably when I was 8, I didn't even know there was a song,
yeah.
and I just was going along with my big sister.
But the song wasn't so explicit. See, like, there was a question. Like, what was thrown off this? You might have said,
Off the bridge.
yeah, off the bridge.
Off the
Off the bridge.
the cat.
The doll.
Let's see.
See what country, even the songs.
But you don't say.
Great, great picture of.
Here's no something.
1976. So yeah, it was 8 years old.
Really, that's deep.
Oh.
Now,
Yeah. Jill said y'all were right last week.
Uh-huh.
I heard good about it.
Oh, I read it. Thursday.
And then I had so I put Geshe-la on that's left, and I had fun back there. Sit back there and and I've been like, go here like 6, running around trying to like figure all this stuff out. And because Alex was coming in and so anyway.
You have one house.
And then I'm sitting back there about maybe 15 minutes after, maybe 30, I can't remember, 15 to 30 minutes after the and all of a sudden my laptop, and I was hooked.
Oh, wow.
And all of a sudden my laptop just goes, blank. And I'm like, oh my God. And I had forgotten to plug it in, you know, with the,
Oh.
and that was the straw I told you. That was when I was just like, I think I might cry now.
Oh, no.
And I'm just like, Lynn, just pull yourself together and plug your computer in. But so, you know, so it is good to have like a host and a co-host, because then it automatically defaulted to Donna, and she was made the host, and YouTube and everything kept going while I was getting my computer plugged in and get back on Zoom and all that. And
Do I have that mute? No, I can't.
yeah.
And this thing.
No, well, I mean, I would use both, just so that the sound is, you know, just get the habit. Geshe-la.
Right, hi, everyone. Welcome. It's
Ian,
Okay.
3 people here in the Kadampa tonight, so,
Bobby is on premises.
and he is getting ready. So we should be starting here shortly. Echo.
You already got YouTube going, right?
Yes.
Just checking, because there was a message saying.
Did you get rain? You just put Rainy in? Okay, all right. Well, that was quick.
I was hitting stuff on the, so I just hit that too.
confirm. Hey, got Renee here. Hi, Renee. Jennifer, welcome.
You might
Hi, Lisa.
ask somebody to unmute and say it.
Hi, Lisa. Can you hear
I
me?
hear you or
Rainy
not.
here.
Oh, are you hearing me? Okay.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay. Can you hear me?
Rainy, anyone hearing me?
Yeah, I hear you.
This is Izzy. I can hear y'all too. I can't turn on my video because I got stuck in traffic,
No,
but
she's
I can
talking
hear
on
you.
Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Did you unmute yourself on Zoom?
Hi, Izzy.
Good evening.
Everyone here? Can anyone hear me? Okay, I got thumbs up now. Okay. There's G-Ben. Welcome, everyone. Robbie's here. We'll be getting started shortly.
Unmute, there's the red line. I just had it backwards.
What?
Um,
I'm gonna unmute.
Another couple minutes.
So that would be. That would, so now you're trying to listen, so this needs to be unmuted. It's. Okay, so you are unmuted.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay.
Steven, if you can hear me, can you give me a thumbs up? Steven, can you hear? Steven, can you hear me? Izzy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so that's.
Okay. Now am I on? Okay, can everyone hear me? What do I need to do?
Nothing, I'm just.
We can hear you loud and clear. At least I can.
Okay. Okay, so, well, good evening, everyone. This is our fourth and final class in the Discovering Buddhism module, Death and Rebirth. Let's see, okay. So let's begin with 3 prostrations, and then we'll do our brief prayers and a little bit of meditation. And if you can bring up our prayers, we'll do refuge and bodhicitta and the 4 immeasurables.
If you're in the Kadampa, it's page 34.
See, I'm not getting the prayers on here. I mean, I can use a prayer book, but I don't know what people at home are saying.
That's weird. Close it out, try again. That's so weird.
Can we stop sharing?
Yeah, and then pull it up again.
Share.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I've got the four measurables. Can we go back to refuge and bodhicitta? Great, thank you. So refuge and bodhicitta 3 times in English, and then the four immeasurables. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends or hatred for enemies. Okay, and we'll begin with some meditation. Begin by establishing your posture. Your back is a little bit straighter than you normally sit. Eyes either lightly closed or very slightly open. Head not tilted to one side or the other, maybe just a couple degrees in front of the vertical. Lips lightly closed. Jaw relaxed. Tongue on our hard palate behind our upper teeth. Shoulders down and back so that our chest is a little bit open. Upper arms away from our torso. Right hand on left, thumbs touching. If we're seated on a cushion, we're towards the front of our cushion, and our legs are crossed in a position that we find comfortable. If we're sitting in a chair, our feet are flat on the floor with a cushion underneath them if we find that helpful. So just scan your posture, identify any areas of tension or discomfort, and address those now. And take 3 deep breaths, the stomach expanding on the in-breath, contracting on the out-breath, slow, deep breaths, the diaphragm being pulled down on each one. And do that 3 times. And now we allow our breathing to return to its natural pattern. And following up on the prayers, we set our motivation. And even if it doesn't come easily or naturally, we try and generate the bodhicitta motivation, the wish to become enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings. And having set our motivation, we now begin the actual meditation. The chosen object of the meditation is the movement of the breath in and out through our nostrils, the physical, tactile sensation of moving air. Just that, nothing more than that. We place our concentration on the sensation of air moving in and out through our nostrils. And we can end our meditation with a brief dedication. Acknowledge that we've done something positive that's made an imprint on our mind stream. And we think, may it not be lost or dissipated, but it may it ripen in the future in a way that benefits all sentient beings. And you may relax your concentration. Okay, good evening, everyone here in the Kadampa and everyone who's joining us via Zoom. This is our last of 4 sessions on death and rebirth. Just to recap for a little bit, we started off with talking about what death is in the Buddhist view, which is the separation of the consciousness, the non-physical aspect of our being from the body, the physical aspect. The separation of the two that have come together temporarily under the control of karmic imprints that have been placed on the consciousness in the past by our actions of body, speech, and mind. And when that karma is exhausted or used up, there is nothing that holds the body and mind together, and they inevitably separate. And then the karmic causes that hold the body together causes it to separate into its various components as it decays. The consciousness goes on in the death process, and then in the next rebirth, if we accept that position, karma, again under the force of karma, the consciousness unites with another physical body, and that constitutes rebirth. So we talked a little bit in the first week about the 9-point death meditation, of which there are 3 main points. The first is that death is inevitable. And when we meditate on that, the conclusion that we come to is that we must practice the Dharma, we must develop our spiritual qualities. The second main point is that the time of death is uncertain. And someone said to me yesterday at the potluck that we were having here at Kadampa Center, that the conclusion they come to when they think about that is eat dessert first, which is not what the Buddha said, but he said, practice the Dharma now, work on your spiritual practice now, if you regard that as your dessert. And the third is that the only thing that benefits us at the time of death is our spiritual practice. So we have to practice enthusiastically and effectively. So that's the way we think about death if we meditate on it according to the Buddha. And then last week we went through the very complicated death dissolution meditation. What the Buddha says actually happens to us as we go through this separation of the body and the consciousness. We go through various stages. And Donna found us one of the, there are many charts like this, but Donna pulled up one of the charts of the dissolution meditation, and interestingly, she found it on Kadampa Center's website. Yes. I mean, there's lots of stuff there that we not aware of. So I'm going to pass these out to the people in the Kadampa. If you're not here, where on the website would people find that, Donna? Do you remember?
I just searched about death dissolution.
Okay, so just search death dissolution on the Kadampa Center website, and this quite elaborate chart will come up. There are many of these out there, but this is an accurate one. And this is a meditation we practice not to scare ourselves out, but to prepare us for something that we will inevitably experience, so that we are not frightened by it or not upset by it, but can approach it with a possibly a calm mind or even an enthusiastic mind, because we know it's an experience that we can use to the benefit of our spiritual practice. So we see I'm not going to go through this in detail, but we see the various stages that we go through, and I outlined these in the meditation last week. And the second column is the aggregates as they dissociate. And the concept of the aggregates is just a way of explaining who we are in this lifetime, a way of breaking down our being. The simplest way to break us down is to say we're a body and a mind. Okay, we're nothing more than that, just a body and a mind. And a slightly more elaborate way is saying that we are the 5 aggregates that have come together temporarily under the force of karma. The first aggregate is form. Okay, that's our physical body. The second aggregate is feeling, the sense of I like, I don't like, I dislike, I don't care about everything that we come into contact with. Then we have discrimination, which is the ability to say, this is a clock, this is not a clock. Okay, to recognize what is and what is not, which comes up all the time in Buddhist logic, this ability to say, this is not that. Okay, this is anything except this. So that's considered an important part of who we are, this ability to discriminate, to tell a clock and a bell, okay? Not an elephant, not a bread box, okay? That's a very important function of who we are in this lifetime. Compositional factors basically refers to everything else that's not included one of the 3 previous ones. And then consciousness is that completely pure, subtle consciousness aspect of ourselves, okay, which has various levels. So as we go through the death dissolution meditation, we can see how the aggregates kind of peel off: form, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and we're left with consciousness. Okay. Then there's a category of wisdoms. These are, I'm not going to go through all these. You can read all of these. These kind of appear to us as we go through the process. There are the various external signs, as you can see. The sources, which is the various senses, okay, eye, ear, nose, tongue, so on. The objects are the perception of the senses, and then the internal signs are what appears to us that we talked about, the various colors and such that appeared throughout the meditation. So I'm not going to go through all this, but this is quite elaborate description of those, of what we go through as we go through to the death dissolution meditation. And then what we wind up with is in the lower right-hand corner, that last square, okay? And when the red and white drops dissolve into blackness and then into the white light. And we're left with this white light, which is what's referred to as our very subtle consciousness, okay, which is our deepest level of consciousness. We have gross consciousness that's peeled off. We have subtle consciousness that's peeled off. And then we have our very subtle consciousness, which is not enlightenment, okay? We're not becoming enlightened through this death process. The subtle consciousness still carries all our karmic imprints, okay? So even though it's non-conceptual, non-dualistic, it still carries the weight of all the karma that's on our consciousness. And that will be guiding us as we go on to the next rebirth or the next lifetime. Now, when we're reborn, Now we're entering into a topic of which I have absolutely no qualifications to teach, which is what happens after we go through this death dissolution. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, because some of it could be wrong. It's not really, it's not something we talk a lot about. We talk about the 9-point death meditation a lot. We talk about the death dissolution meditation and do that a lot. The actual process of what is going on in the bardo, we don't talk a lot about, not because it's secret or hidden, but because it's interesting, but it doesn't really motivate us a lot, or most of us motivate us a lot in terms of our practice. It doesn't really change how we're living our life right now, but it is something that we will experience. So it's useful to be familiar with it. The Tibetan Book of Dying or Tibetan Book of Death is about what happens in the bardo. And that gives a very detailed description of this, much more than I'll go into tonight. So our next rebirth, the first thing is that we can be born in formless realms, which are very elevated, very powerful states to be reborn in. Okay, the result of incredible good karma. And in those, we do not have a physical body, according to the Buddha. So if we've created that karma, we don't go through the bardo. Okay, the consciousness just continues into a non-physical continuity, okay, without a body, without attaching to a physical form. If we're going to be reborn in a physical, with a body, with a physical body, then we go through what's called the bardo, B-A-R-D-O, which is the intermediate state. And so our consciousness carrying all these karmic imprints enters the bardo. It's the karma that sends the consciousness into the bardo and not into a formless realm. So already karma is starting to work, okay, just by the fact that we're entering into the bardo. Our karma from our past actions of body, speech, and mind is starting to work. And the karmic imprints of how we go through the death process, whether we go through it calmly, with a clear mind, or whether we go through it upset, agitated, scared, is already starting to work. So that's influencing what karmic seeds will be ripening to determine our next rebirth. So this is one reason we want to rehearse this death process, so that we can go into the bardo with the most beneficial possible karma ripening. Says we stay in the bardo. So the bardo is this very nebulous place, very mysterious. You know, you can imagine, I'm not going to try and describe it because I'm not qualified, but it's kind of this grayish black space in which your consciousness can move anywhere, is not under the control of a physical body. And it's said that typically our consciousness is going to stay in that intermediate state, the bardo, for a multiple of 7 days, okay? Up to the maximum of 49 days. So it's said that as the first 7 days go through, pass, certain karmic seeds start to ripen. We start to come together with a physical form based on those karmic seeds. If they're very, very strong, either positive or negative, will be reborn in 7 days. If we have the strong karmic seeds to be reborn, again, as a human being, which is considered a favorable rebirth, we can be reborn as a human being at the end of 7 days if the karma is very strong. If we have very negative karma, to be reborn as a cockroach, that can happen at the end of 7 days. But it said typically we don't have that strong a karma to be reborn. There's nothing that powerful. So we actually go through a mini version of the death process at the end of 7 days. And the process starts over. We start to, again, based on karma associated with the body. And if the karma is strong, we take rebirth. If it's not strong, we go through a mini death again. And this can happen every 7 days for a total of 7 times. Said by the end of 7 days, some karma is going to force you into a physical rebirth. And again, the karma is the imprints that you have placed on your mind stream by things you've said, things you've done, things you've thought, both in the previous lifetime and lifetimes before that, and especially as you've gone through the death process. Okay, so these karmic seeds start to ripen. You have an attraction. You're karmically drawn towards a specific body. It's not random that we were born as human beings. It's not random that we were born as male or female. It's not random that we were born in this location or that location. All of that is determined by our karma acting out in the bardo. So if we have the karma to be reborn as a human being, it's that if we're particularly attracted towards, well, it says if we have the karma to be reborn as a man, we are attracted to the mother figure. If we have the karma to be reborn as a female, we're attracted to the father figure. So it's good old Freudian psychology here. And as they are in the act of intercourse, and the sperm joins the egg, which is the physical aspect of our future body, just the physical aspect. At the moment that they join, our consciousness joins with them and develops in the mother's womb and is reborn. Okay, all under the aspects of our own karma. Again, nothing is random. So as we go through this process in the bardo, it can be extremely frightening, okay? If we have a lot of negative karma that's ripening, we see horrible thoughts, scenes, we're scared, we're running, we don't know. And lots of times that's when it said consciousness will grab on to a rebirth, not the best possible one, but out of fear, be attracted, attached to one. If we have created a lot of good karma, we enter the bardo with a very calm, even happy mind, saying, I know what's happening. I know that a lot of this is delusions. A lot of this is my own negative karma that I'm looking at. I don't have to be scared of it, but I can actually relax and go with the process, let my good karma ripen so that I have a favorable rebirth one being one in which you have the opportunity to practice the Dharma. So that's a little bit about what happens in the process of being reborn, okay? Going through the bardo. Again, it's a very mysterious process, and I'm just giving a very brief outline of it. Let's see. But the main thing that is driving us through the bardo, even if we have good karma ripening, is attachment to a certain type of rebirth, being drawn to that. Okay. And hopefully, even though attachment is ultimately something that we want to purify, at least we hope we're attached to a favorable rebirth. So this is the consciousness, the clear white light that we're left with at the end of the death dissolution. As it goes through the bardo, becoming more and more under the influence of karma. Okay, the white light, the consciousness that goes forward has not shed its karma. It's not enlightenment. Okay, but it is a much clearer consciousness than we normally experience. And the idea is to enter the bardo with an awareness of that consciousness. And I don't know if you can actually say you're in control of the process, but you're aware of what's going on. You're calm, you're not scared, and you're using it to the most possible depth. Okay. Any questions or comments? Either here or, yeah. Okay, Mark, yeah.
So I guess
I'll just repeat what he says, okay?
Thanks,
I
Rick.
think the one question I have is, so if this consciousness is viewing the mother and father,
Mhm.
would that just be in the human realm, or would that also be in another realm?
Okay, is this consciousness just viewing a human mother and father, or does it happen with other realms? Yeah. Okay, so according to the Buddha, if we're in the form realm, we can be born in 6 different realms. Okay, there's the God realm, the demigod realm, the human realm, which are considered the 3 upper realms, in that it's easier to practice the Dharma. And the lower realms are the animal realm, the hungry ghost realm, and the hell realms. So certainly if we're being born into an animal being, we see the mother and father there, okay? It's said that for the other realms, the God realms, the demigod realms, the hungry ghost realms, again, don't take this as gospel, but this is what I read. You do go through that process of seeing the mother and the father, okay? If you're being reborn in the hell realm, which is a suffering realm, the result of your own negative karma, it said those beings are not born, okay? They just go there. So there's no mother and father, so you don't see the mother and father copulating and the egg and sperm coming together and you join with that. The consciousness just goes straight to the hell realm and grabs onto whatever kind of body they have. That's what I read. There may be some controversy about that, but it says beings in the hell realm don't go through the birth process. But the other realms, it does apply to. Yeah. Okay, depending on what our karma is, which realm we go into. We've all been in all the realms countless times before. Yeah, we just don't remember it. Okay.
Paul has a question.
Okay, Paul.
Paul, go ahead and unmute. Like,
Hi, I was wondering if you've read Lincoln in the Bardo.
Have I read Lincoln in the Bardo? No,
Yeah,
no, that's a book. Who's it by?
pardon?
I'm not sure who it's by.
I can't remember
I've heard a lot about it. Yeah, anybody know who it's by? Yeah, it came out a few years ago. No, but it got quite great reviews. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just wondering if you saw it and what you thought of it, if you'd read it.
No, I haven't read it, but I've heard it's. Has anybody read it? Yeah, it's being turned into an opera. They're going to do it at the Metropolitan Opera in a couple of years. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. Lincoln in the Bardo, doesn't he? Yeah. What I can't remember what happens there. Yeah, but anyway. Yeah.
The author is George Saunders.
George Saunders. Okay. Yeah, great. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Let's see. I think that's everything I wanted to say from that, out of my lack of knowledge of the subject. But okay, this is why the 7 days correlates with why we do prayers when someone that we're close to or a teacher dies. We'll do specific practices typically every 7 days after they die, by dying we mean not necessarily when by Western standards, they're dead, but by Tibetan standards, we can tell that the mind and body have separated. And there's all sorts of ways that they do this. Something drains from the nose, or the body starts to putrefy, or something like that. So we do prayers every 7 days, and we do the biggest prayers on the 49th day, because we assume by then they've definitely started their rebirth. So we're doing prayers for someone like that to have a favorable rebirth and go through the process, everything. So the question comes up, do these prayers really have any effect on what they're going through? Because really what they're going through is determined by their own karma, isn't it? So it brings up the whole question of why we do prayers at all. And when every time we ask Geshe Gelik that, he says we do prayers because they're aspirations. You know, we don't know if they have any benefit for someone, okay? They may be able to hear us, they may not, but we know they have a positive effect on our own mind. So whether you accept the idea of the prayers actually benefiting someone in the bardo, at least you know that they're benefiting your mind here in this human realm. But that's why we'll do various practices when someone dies, or when a great teacher like Lama Zopa dies.
So when the very subtle consciousness is in the bardo, is it still under karmic influences?
Yeah, yeah.
So then in that case, if there's, you know, like high level monks and thousands of people praying for you, then that entity in the bardo has that karma to have those prayers happen.
Yes, yeah,
So,
and to hear, you know, because it's just consciousness, so it can be anywhere. So it could, you know, maybe it hears them and it helps good karma to ripen for them. Who knows? Yeah. Yeah. Now, you know, a Buddha, a completely enlightened Buddha, when they die by Western standards, of course, the Buddha has used up all its negative karma. So I assume a Buddha's consciousness would not go through this process, would not enter into the bardo under the influence of karma, but a Buddha would have complete freedom to choose whatever rebirth they would find most beneficial, if being reborn is beneficial, okay? But Buddha, it's completely free and volitional. They're not under the influence of negative karma of attachment that's forcing them into the next rebirth, okay? But the important thing is consciousness continues. We don't ever get to a point where consciousness ends, okay? Either we're going through the bardo, or as a Buddha, we're choosing, okay? But the consciousness always continues. Did you want to say something, Mark?
So I'm curious, as people are doing prayers for someone who's passed away, so would that collective karma, would that possibly be able to find its way with that?
Yeah, Mark's asking is, when people do prayers for someone who's died, does the collective karma make it to the consciousness that's in the bardo? I don't know, you know, because, you know, we say karma is, you can't change someone else's karma by doing prayers for them. That's what they say. So I don't know. It's one of those gray areas for me. Yeah. But it's definitely changing your karma if you're doing the prayers. You're creating positive karma for yourself. Okay. So whether it's actually changing the karma of the consciousness in the bardo, I can't say. Beyond my pay grade to discuss something like that. That's why they say karma is the deepest and most profound of all the Buddha's teachings. Sometimes it seems very simplistic, but they say to really understand karma is the most difficult and most profound teaching that the Buddha gave, because it really it draws everything into it. Lisa? Next module is karma, and who's leading that? Don Brown's leading that, and when does that start?
Next week.
Next week, okay. Okay. And let's see. Well, Venerable Rabina, no, she won't be here. Yeah. Okay, okay. So my karma starts next. So that's a profound one. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay. So let's just do our final meditation. Thank you, Donna, for bringing that chart, for looking on our website. It's amazing how many good things show up there if you look for them. Yeah. Over years and years and years, where people have put things on there. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, SPC.
So let's take a moment, set our motivation. And just a couple minutes of concentration meditation. And now we'll do just a little bit of analytic meditation, big picture analysis. First topic to concentrate on is how would a constant awareness of the inevitability of death and the uncertainty of its arrival make my life different? How would I live my life if I was constantly aware of those facts? Would I do anything different than what I customarily do now? And now think, how will familiarity with the process of dissolution at the time of death benefit me as I inevitably die? How will knowing what's going to happen, having rehearsed it, be of benefit to me? And how will understanding the process of going through the bardo under the influence of my karma, both positive and negative, how will understanding that process make a difference in my life? How will that change how I live my life now? And you can end your meditation with doing a brief dedication. Acknowledge the benefit of thinking along these lines. And may that make an imprint on your mind stream that ripens in the future in a way that benefits all sentient beings. And you can relax your concentration. So that's our last class in this module. Thank you, everyone, both here in the Kadampa and on Zoom. Thank you to Lisa and Linda for their organizational skills. Let's see, could you just give us a brief rundown of events at Kadampa Center over the next couple of weeks, because we have some big things coming up.
Mute your laptop so it doesn't echo. Where is it? There it is.
Okay.
Okay, so we have lots coming up. Of course, as Robbie mentioned, next Monday, we start All About Karma with Don Brown, and that will run for 4 weeks. And then that following Monday, after those 4 weeks, we have Chokurduchen, which is another Buddha Holy Day. So the center will be open from early in the morning. We have the opportunity to take precepts with Geshe Gelik, and then there'll be prayers and practices, a light breakfast. The center will continue to remain open for personal practice after lunch. So a light breakfast and a light lunch will be provided by the center that day. So if you can take Monday, the 28th off, that's July 28th, and plan to come to the center, that's awesome. Another meritorious day, since it's a Buddha Holy Day, where our karmic effects are multiplied by like 100 million. And then we have on Sunday, July 6th, His Holiness the Dalai Lama's 90th birthday. So we will have a big birthday party here. And the Geshis would like for us to have music and singing and dancing. So if anyone has those talents in here, just let me know and we'll get you signed up to perform and share your talent. Of course, family friendly and appropriate for a Buddhist center. and that's on Sunday the 6th, July 6th. And then Venerable Rabina Corton arrives on, she'll start teaching on Tuesday and Wednesday, July 8th and 9th. And then do a weekend workshop Friday evening, all day Saturday and Sunday. And she'll be teaching the Sunday Dharma July 13th, and then wrap up the workshop that afternoon. All of this information is online, so please see kadampa-center.org and go to our homepage. There's scrolling banners, and then my favorite place is the calendar button up in the upper right-hand corner that has everything that we have going on. If you have any questions, feel free to track me down or email me at program.linda@kadampa-center.org. All right.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay.
Thanks, everyone. Good night. Good night.
Good night.